We are excited to announce that on June 15th, we will release our B9 S4 3.0T tuning.
Yep.
We will be releasing Stage 1 ECU initially. We will release Stage 2 and other variants in the future. Stage 2 shouldn't be too far behind,
Nope.
but Stage 2 isn't production ready currently. Stage 1 is being wrapped up and productionized, making it ready to sell.
Yep.
We will release with 91, 93, and full E85 options. And so I believe if you simply buy Stage 1, you get access to all three files.
Yeah, you'll have all three available to you to switch between anytime you want.
And a bone stock car can be flashed. All you'll need is a Dynamic Plus tuning cable, which you can purchase from us. Or if you go to one of our dealers, they will be happy to flash your car for you. If you buy a cable, you can flash your car back to stock or switch between the different fuels using the cable.
Yep.
Easily and conveniently. We will also be releasing at the same time a ZF8 TCU tune. That will be essentially, it's going to be necessary.
Yeah, it's really necessary to get the you're going to get the maximum torque out of the Stage 1 and beyond files. So the to do things right, we've got to make sure that the torque reporting from the ECU is done correctly, and all of the components in the car that see the correct amount of torque and are using it for traction control, ABS, cruise control, you name it. It's all integrated and used, and obviously transmission side as well for proper shifting and torque holding. And one of those things is they have a fairly conservative torque limit that the TCU will allow you to do. That's not a mechanical limit; it's just an arbitrary software limit that's been set inside the TCU. And if you're not modifying that within the TCU, among other changes we do for these tunes, you're going to be limited to the amount of torque that the ECU is allowed to produce.
Yeah, and that's
overall.
One of many reasons why like tuning boxes can't produce as much power.
Well, there's that, and the tuning boxes are even worse. They falsely report torque across the board. That's the whole game is right. You intercept either MAP, or a combination of things.
But even if they did everything well, they'd be limited by not having a TCU.
Yeah, if somehow they were able to get the proper torque output from the ECU, you'd still be capped
right.
With the TCU side. And then, conversely, if you're buying an ECU tune that doesn't require a TCU tune, chances are they've either fudged it, gone about ignoring some TCU side demands, or kind of hack their way around it some way or another. But generally, the common way is just to bring all of your torque outputs down, so that you stay under that threshold.
And we could have done that, but it's a much less powerful tune.
It's more like bringing the reported torque levels down. You can output a certain amount of torque from the engine, but then you tell all of the other components like, hey, I'm only making this much torque.
And that causes all kinds of...
Causes shifting issues, causes, cruise control, traction control, ASR intervention stuff.
Yeah.
They're never going to feel as good as if you're properly calibrating and outputting those correct numbers.
Yeah, and so our TCU tune also improves shift speeds.
Or shifts. Shift points. We're working
more optimized.
We're working on optimizing the shift points because the power band on these stock turbos is not a huge turbo, so the power band's kind of in the mid range, and you've got to really optimize where those shift points are.
Yeah, you could actually go faster by shifting
a little sooner in some gears, depending on how things load up.
Depends on the gear too.
Yep. So
and then launch control refinement.
Launch control will be refined a bit.
So. And not to say that launch control is finalized or that it won't ever have our advanced launch control features. Right. That's in the future. But initially, anyone who buys our Stage 1 will have access to those updates in the future.
Yep.
But this I've driven this tune. It's much faster than the stock car. It's smooth, refined, reliable, like the factory tune.
Yeah, it picks up a bunch of power.
No hardware changes are required other than buying a cable or having access to a cable.
Yep.
And then certainly a bigger intercooler.
Yeah, we do. The intercooler is kind of
Stage 2.
We found you really want to look at.
We do recommend strongly the intercooler, especially if you want to accelerate through more than like one or two gears at a time. So let's say you want to, you're on track, you will feel heat soak after a couple laps. And there are good intercooler options on the market currently from Wagner.
Yeah.
And we're looking at bringing some to market as well. But it's not necessary, but there's a marked improvement by adding an intercooler. Stage 2 will be with a high flow cat, and that's a future update. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what else would even be beneficial right now.
To add, I mean, intake, intercooler.
Yeah, an intake. There'll be some additional power. Again, not required, but an intake will provide additional power and flow.
We've got our turbo inlet we're working on. So
turbo.
There's a number of, just kind of efficiencies and restrictions that come along with most of the products we're working on.
Is the factory intercooler good enough for stage 1?
Well, like I said,
it depends on use. I mean, and again, environment. If you're in a really hot zone, I mean, stage 1 will work. All of our safeties are there. We've worked on pushing it past where it's thermally, happy, by repeatedly loading that intercooler.
But it will pull power back.
Yeah, you'll get into, basically a engine protection. Or
with an intercooler, it won't. As nearly.
Yeah, you're gonna have to work a lot harder to get it there. So,
but no, you don't need the intercooler. The ECU will pull back power once things get to a certain temperature.
Yep.
But who wants that, right? So, I think it's recommended, and you can start with stage 1, enjoy it. Once you start feeling that, you can add the intercooler. You'll have
don't feel like you have to wait for the software because you don't have an intercooler yet. It'll work fine. It's just you're gonna have less fun if you're in really hot conditions. It'll start reducing that output a little bit.
But there's a lot more to come. We're nowhere near done development. We're at the very beginning.
Yep.
So I'd say it's a good time to jump in, and then get those updates and improvements as they come in the future.
Yeah, and we've already gone and done the legwork and gotten our kind of our more advanced software stuff working and compiling and building against these, so we can add all these custom features we've talked about for advanced launch control, our high-speed data logging, all that. We developed that in-house, and it's all in there.
We'll be adding all that. Working. And are there any follow-up questions or any?
Someone would like to know if we're removing auto upshift to manual mode with the TCU.
We've talked about that a little bit. We can look at that. It isn't normally on our normal files. It's not something we typically will do. We'll look at that. It's a good thing to note down.
Mm-hmm. Are there any numbers we could use?
I don't have numbers that
numbers and price.
Because
we will release on June 15th.
We're still finalizing everything.
But they're good. They're good numbers. Yeah. It's it will be competitive with anything else out there, and the price will also be very competitive. But we will put our performance and quality of tune up against anything else on the market. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and we haven't rushed this out. We're trying to get everything ironed out and make this as rock solid a file as we can.
Yeah, and we will be pursuing carb EOs for this.
Yep, the intake, the same path, the B8 and the MQBs.
Since we already have 2 applications approved, the process gets easier for us. So we don't have any doubt that stage 1 will be approved, but we have not begun the process yet because the tune's not even finalized. Right. It will be in the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
So.
Will hybrid turbos be something we consider tuning?
Absolutely, yeah. Yep. We already have hybrid turbos on the way. I believe we have a segment. I'd recommend check out our B9 tuning segment from a few weeks ago. We dive deep into the tuning. I'd recommend anyone who's interested in our B9 tuning to go back and watch that. It's about 30 minutes, but Nate and I really dive deep into factory ECU calibration, into B9, our future plans.
Talked about the complexity of these ECUs and just the number of maps and variables, just from a starting point, a real high level overview of.
And we talk a lot about the quality of the tune, not just features, and a lot of times customers simply they look at features lists and they make decisions based on the features, but what you're buying is not features. You're buying the quality and accuracy of the base tuning and programming, and that that's not really a feature.
Nick just linked it live.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
so on Facebook.
Watch that after this, or save it for later. And I think that's very informative. I've never seen any tuning company talk that openly about.
Yeah, I haven't seen any Q&A stuff. Near this where we're kind of laying it out there on how we go about things. What some of the inner workings of these ECUs and TCUs and the challenges we have to kind of work with or work around are.
No one's asking about crackles? Is this a whole new world?
Oh. Okay.
There's some pops and crackles, right?
Yep. Will be there. Those are adjusted a bit from stock as well.
Yeah.
for stage 1, and then stage 2 will obviously you'll get a little more of that. We've touched on it a little bit. We'll see on that.
Well, we'd be happy to take suggestions and requests, especially during this.
We'll throw out that session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a form.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fill out the form. Vote with the form. Anything else?
Pretty good.
I think that was most
Of course, we can continue to talk about it through the rest of the session.